etiefo munim de enti a as nipa dasani bia no de enti ya na ye ka se wo ekuo bi mu na bibi enko ya e wo se wo kasa na se wanhwe na wankasa na asemba ye de wo beka ho no enne me betre mu de enti a unim se enra National Cathedral nsem ebaaye no ye se board of trustees ni na no yenye ne anchi omo yen prosecute omo, right? Now board of trustees no ye bodima ne kan Dag Heward Mills, because on officially no he was part of the board of trustees Emra National Cathedral project no ekoso. But I have seen say some radio personalities and journalists spiritedly are mounting defense for Dag Heward Mills, and I support that defense. Our more mounted for Dag Heward Mills. Na me be kenkan Dag Heward Mills. Ne letter bi a wotro ye kokoma National Cathedral for Emra na waka ho no. Or throw letter ekokoma womo, and the letter ne pie me be kenkan letter no. He was the first person to resign from the National Cathedral, Dag Heward Mills. Na letter wo throw ma womo embra wo resign ye no. Me be kenkan atro. Na enam sa letter ne so intia na ende enipa bi nso asori a womo se dabi Dag Heward Mills nko ade ye mpene ono nko ade wo ya adepa inti ye mpene ema se yesi ye chi omo atomu a wono nko ade ye mpene ena meka no ono de I support. Okay, answer na Reverend Iswood Anaba ene Archbishop Duncan Williams mo ebe resign no ono de da na ne letter na wo trokoma National Cathedral for no eni o say I feel that the treatment of the issues I have raised in my several letters has been unfortunate. Not just a Dag Heward Mills letter of resignation no Okatre National Cathedral mpanyim for trustees and mpanyim for ewo ho ne say ma tron krata sa e de abramo nanso mo nya ho hwe me raise issues bebre issues be na o raise making kan atro. So as he was part of the trustees, he was always raising issues. But Yemfino, I say my letters have been ignored in the past, not attended to for years, and at best addressed flippantly. I say the letters be brebe our Troy, Embra our National Cathedral, and this is an old way. And you say and there any other letter we old letter of resignation. Our Troy, our Trokoma President Akufo-Addo Trosanso Koma National Cathedral for nini na. Inti President Akufo-Addo enim sa letter yi. To say what letter bebre yemfino. We raise issues bebre wa National Cathedral nsem ni mo. Yemfino. Eye nsem na o raise. Or say, you may recall I have spoken passionately and written extensively about the cost, the design, the location, the fundraising, the mobilization of the churches, and the role of the trustees. Into our trust letter bebreba or trokoma National Cathedral for no. President Akufo-Addo muni na or letter kokomo no letter no tro no or try about National Cathedral sika ye de ye no $312 million he or si sika no do. And you see Dag Heward Mills was speaking from experience because ye kan Ghana ha say omo mu si in sorry pan obi aniwa wo si asori esin Dag Heward Mills. I mean ye kan sofo no mu si asori pan na Dag Heward Mills. Na every single time omo si asori foforo e wo baby. Every single time e just omo ante say community bi e wo baby ye si asori dan wo ho. Into ono de all over Ghana we si asori dan bebre. Into onim say ye si cathedral la wonim sika ekum. It will raise issue set from say 312 million na ye DC cathedral no. Enka ye. Oka say the design of the cathedral no so any the location no emwa. Senia wo mu raise sika e di akwa akwa cathedral nim so emwa. Senia churches ne kra no ye no onhu ni ye. Ena omo trustees na nkasa no role a wo mu play on paper no ye ma ehun ne te se wo mu na mu ye mpanyimfo nanso nkrofo be hye echi a wo mu di bone nti later asemba no ye de ato wo so ene ne nde asema ba ye de aba beto wo so no a wo no nso ya bo ne din aka ho no. But he raised all these issues to mpanyimfo no National Cathedral omo eco meeting na issues we no raise tre wo mo. Also, this, if heeded, would have made our project more achievable. Generally speaking, my inputs, my opinions, and my letters have been trivialized and set aside. It's in the resignation letter, no. Or say, in someone make an nanka mutiemia, nanka National Cathedral, nanka by this time, a team. But, nini nemu no, mwentieme, mekasa, munhu mese mi ye nipampo, we ye Dag Heward Mills, and no complaining. Okasa ye hu ne se we ye nipampo, asemi obeke bia ne dia to baby, ne letters ni na se ya boegu. Or say, I do not believe this is an oversight, but a deliberate exclusion from the board. 6 years is a long time to correct this failure to register me, if it was indeed an administrative lapse. It was no there, on when they say, even with the registration, the crano, ye didn't ding ato website, and so say, okay, the trustees, now so ye register no, ni ding, ye register ni ding kan ho. It was 6 years ni. Ye register ni din enfanen kan ho say board of trustees. No hu ne say eye boapayo. Ya sheda na ye di n'anim aka ho. Nanso officially no, legally no, ye register no. And he was raising all these issues. Say mo peni ye and anka mo pese me ka ho de a, anka mo be register me na mo de me aka board of trustees ho. Or say, I have therefore accepted for some time now that I am not a trustee of the National Cathedral. So no dear, all kasano wajiatum say on no National Cathedral no nka ho. Ne di ne nimabo website ne so dear, nanso wajiatum say won nka ho, legally no nka ho. But I have still sought to help with the cathedral because I believe in the president's vision and I do not have to be a legally registered trustee to do so. But cathedral no oje, cathedral edi. Say Ghana was say yenya bibi a friend in National Cathedral. Inti President Kufuor ne da eso ne de ono de oje da eso ne di. Eni kwan say legally no, ye register no as a trustee and sign no obeji di. Ono de oje da eso ne di. Inti ne futo de still obema. I say I refer to myself in this letter as a trustee because even though I am not privy to most of the weighty decisions of the board, I am referred to as such. In his resignation letter, no, he said a lot of things. No, say letter nimokrano or no offre ne ho trustee na onim say omu take decision say hu hia na ya ne emfa ne nka ho nanso obe ne den but refer to ne ho sa so a trustee because ne din ebo website so say we a trustee. Also, this lack of clarity is robbing our vision of the validity it needs. Over and over, I have asked that we address this appropriately and urgently because there are many dire implications for the trustees and the individuals involved in this project. One, Dag Heward Mills was raising this issue. Eka say, de bia asem way e was say yetena se ne ka ne ye. Trustees no oka ho anase won ka ho. Mon register no. Se ne amo register kusi boatenom ne other people no. Eye matemu ene ye mame Joyce Ayimo. Ono no mon register na sa na so mu di ne din aka ho. De bia woka Mumbra clear na mumbra meka say hey Dag Heward Mills we ye de waka ho keke na ye deal safa wachi. Mumbra na mumbra meka because as a trustee no asemba that chibi no a trustees in the ebechi omo atum. That is the issue he raised. He raised this issue when he was resigning. Or say many dire implications for the trustee and individuals involved in this project. Or say I have been a reachable and available trustee and I've attended every single meeting of trustees since the pandemic began, in person and by Zoom, and the records will show that. Or say meeting biya wa baby since time COVID time, meeting biya records no wa tre say meeting biya wa ye present or ba meeting. That is how serious he was with the cathedral project. Or say if I say that I as a trustee do not know many of the financial and technical issues concerning the cathedral, it means the discussions about the National Cathedral were held by some people outside the trustees meeting or perhaps in a forum that I was not present at or not invited to. So see, or no as a trustee, ye the cathedral nesi omona so no, ehun sikasem kra wonim. Ehun kwaneaba onim. Na tre say, omu wi a omo aya from trustees no kakra bi wo mo a wo mo nso ate omo ho a wo mo wi a wo mo no mo take decision no mo take decision ni wi a no mo de aba abonten aba be katre Ghana for say ye trustees ni na take decision because say oye trustee ankasa na nke wo say ohun sikasem ni mu akoni aba ni na nke wo so ohun but ono no ye friend na meeting ye jisika ye pese ese onim bibia mu sa as a trustee. Also, on the one hand, the National Cathedral is said to be a government of Ghana project, with the government taking financial decisions. Yet, on the other hand, at meetings, it is implied that the trustees have taken or participate in taking decisions. Into a see, almost sorry, almost the National Cathedral no a buying project, and no hunti a buying and ebe taking financial decisions. So, koko bisa se sikasem a diya. Asemo mo katre no so ya buying project nti ya buying na sikasem ni nyina nanso omoba meeting ase a asemo a omoba be katre no ene say trustees no na take like omoba meeting ase no mo kasa omoma ne sound to say omo trustees ni na take decisions no nanso koko bisa sikasem a yesi o sikasem de say ya buying nti ya buying na oye na ade nti ya buying no be take decision nanso ye kasa o meeting ase a na moko abonte na moko kasa asede ye trustees no need take decisions. I say I would like to state clearly that if in the future there is more clarity to my role and function in the building of the cathedral, I remain open and available and willing to serve at the pleasure of the president and the nation. Into one of your worker, no we see supi. Say that chibi or cathedral no onka hu biom oko na daachi bi omokokoda no mo sunda no omo ba benya adwempa no mo hu ne say okay sisi ano ye pese won no ye clarify o role say indeed we trustee ana say won de wonka ho ye de wenim keke na abo ho a ye didi wo wechi dia mo mbra me country no. So regardless of your response to my resignation and inputs, I remain a supporter of the National Cathedral project and will endeavor to be present to rejoice with the nation when this project is completed. So I say one of the oko nanso still National Cathedral no. You see, this is what he told them ewo kukum. Internende journalist story a wo say dabi. Say yes nkrofo di bone dia and the Dag Heward Mills on ho because on your meeting bia no orezi yemfino and he took the best action ever that he had to resign and he resigned. Or resigning ye no Ghana fon so yet ho asem. That time na mekai National Cathedral for Pentecost penny eba betro letter in response to Dag Heward Mills resignation no and it make it look like say and I say obekwa won ko be like that was the feeling. Let me get the letter National Cathedral for letter wa mo troye embra Dag Heward Mills resigning ye no. Let me get the letter na he Board of Trustees for press release our moye. Osha letter no mo trauma Dag Heward Mills sends important message to any. Osha letter wa mo trauma Dag Heward Mills any letter ni bakono sign ye Apostle Prof Opoku Onyina, chairman of the Board of Trustees. Letter ni also resignation of Dag Heward Mills and matters arising. Also the attention of the trustees and Secretariat of the National Cathedral project has been drawn to a publication in the media of the letter of resignation by Bishop Dag Heward Mills from the trusteeship. The board will not want to engage in a public contest that would be detrimental to the unity of the church that the National Cathedral seeks to promote. Also, a number of the issues raised in the letter have already been clarified during a visit to the office of Bishop Dag Heward Mills by a delegation led by the chairman of the Board of Trustees, Apostle Opoku Onyina, on August 23rd, 2022, as well as a letter dated October 15th, 2022, acknowledging the letter of resignation. The board was also duly informed of these clarifications at the October 10th, 2022 meeting. It's almost your mate say Ghana for young so yat to say Dag Heward Mills were resigning. Na omo person beka ho asem because the impape mu beba na National Cathedral no ade bia na epese yede e Christopher enkabom eba. Na issues bia Dag Heward Mills raise no omo baba be clarify na say they wanted to be on the defensive side. issues that Dag Heward Mills raise ya nanka yen na ye hu ne say nanka nye issues boni no nti no being on the defensive side some more kind say however for the sake of public education some of the issues clarified are as follows. The National Cathedral is a partnership between the state and church, and the roles of the state have been clearly specified in the partnership. Appointment of the architect, the land, the secretariat, and seed money for the preparatory phase of the work. The architect and the land, the site for the National Cathedral, had already been selected by the presidents before the appointment of the trustees by the president. All trustees were aware of this. Also, the selection of the contractors, rebate for the project, was through a rigorous international procurement process supervised by the lead consultant. Inti se we hu senia Apostle Opoku nyina otwandro. Won say ende Shraj say contract na ye de ma rebate no. It didn't go through any procurement process. But that time no last year Apostle Pentecost wo penyi Apostle Opoku nyina former chairman of Pentecost all reply Katre Ghana for Katre and say the selection of the contractors went through a rigorous international procurement process supervised by the lead consultant whose contract included the selection of a contractor for approval by the board of trustees. See when we saw for mudi yasu okrum ha. See when and the Shraj say omo investigation stress say it didn't go through any procurement process. But that time no more responded to Dag Heward Mills' resignation, no, almost say it went through a rigorous international procurement process. You see? And you see, that is why I said, say, for me, it didn't make sense at all to me. Send your same way by ya, not changing a kind. In Penifui, a defending, and toss one mameda. And toss one mamma, and in 17 in APA, you know. Go back to all the releases or more letters no more release here no and you see one other partner say who register Shraj we now asemwa eye Opoku nyina mo omo lawyers no katre Shraj and they say cathedral ne kra no private enye we enye public private into procurement ne kra no na ke ni kwan say ye procurement you see. But in the first letter way, you know, Osha, or say the National Cathedral is a partnership between the states. That means a government. So you just go back to cathedral no releases, assembly by release biano, and they'll be when they say Shraj for investigations, no, I expose you more flats. So Dag Heward Mills there, ne ho song issues nende. Eban o rezi said that be assemble intermediate me twe me ho omo ba be defend omo ho they were on the you see in so free in so bi omo kinkan bible so eya na me ya said the characters in the bible are omo ye nyama bi se e ma Nyankopon bu fuhyew ba omo so wo say omo no eya no mo refi omo ho he de ma Nyankopon ni bu fu so for people who don't know nyame ankasa na select so Nyankopon ankasa na select so that time Israel for say omo person mo yete say amanaman na eben omo that time na Israel omo ni hene omo ni obi a wo ye hene a wodi omo so na de omo ye ne say Nyankopon select wo bi ebi adifo bi na odifo no edi omo anim Israel for ni hene Israel for hu say amanaman na eben omo no omo wo nipa ba ko a ye hu ne say wo ye hene no eno mo de pressure ekwa ka se yepe yenso yepe hene onko ka kire eye odifo Samuel bufu ye ena Nyankopon ka den se dabi omo si omo pe hene a memo omo hene inti so ena omo efunu ponko ayra ena wo kwa hwehwe oni one of ne papa away ne one of ne papa servant was edian o se nebusu ni o se edian eno omko hwehwe efunu ponko no eno omudu kro ni mo hwehwe efunu ponko no eno obi ka trom se efunu ponko na ayira no odifo obi hye ha that time na Nyankopon aka atre Samuel say obi beba se nipa ko ne ba ono ena me pese me select no as hene nti so ena okɔhwe ofunupɔnkɔ ne yɛka kyɛn sɛ odiifo bi wɔ hɔ akɔ na koko hu odiifo no bɛkyerɛ bebi ofunupɔnkɔ na ayera no ɛwɔ okoko hu odiifo no no odiifo no ka sɛ nipa ko anya me kan sɛ wo bɛba na mesi ne hene no no ani eno hyira no ɔde engo egu ne trim ɛhɔ na sɛ ɔka sɛ afɛ de nyame honhom konkro ba bɛhyɛ me mu sisi a me fili some way nti nyame ankasa ne trusu so enye obia ɛyɛ nyame na de ma nyankopɔn bu fu so a wɔka sɛ so me ana me select o me ana me choose o na mate hontoma me mpe obiom ene sɛ Saul was overly defensive. Saul was overly defensive. Enti odifo Samuel de bia na asem otai ka tre Saul ne sɛ o say obedience is better than sacrifice. Ye kasa tre watie. Men konkoye sɛ de ye kan wuntie na wakɔ akɔye de wo pɛ. Ukoye de ope wi a me besre nyankopon boniface na me be sacrifice ama nyankopon na wetie. Samuel ka tre ne say obedience is better than sacrifice. He was overly defensive. Ye ka tre ne say nyame si say ya no no akasa de na adwen say o da bi me de enye saa na me pese me ye no me de say na me ye no no ade na adwen ebu ene na ma nyankopon bu fu no. When Dag Heward Mills was raising all these issues, salient issues, National Cathedral mpanyifo a omo akọ Bible school a omo nim Bible sin ye ni na omo nim sa Saul story no, they were being overly defensive. They were being defensive and they were defending themselves every single time okuja to black wadi issue beba bia no, they come on the defense, overly defensiveness and then there National Cathedral for ediedu ha no. No. Ene ma nyankopon bu fuye nti se mo aye mo adwe se mpanyimfo and me say you go back and read all the and the sa letters ne sansensem we ni na no amagana fo ni na ehu se entro na mutwa ayen first no and then still people believe now people believe say mo mpanyimfo na kra no em say na mu nim ho hwe na ye President Akufo-Addo ne na aban nkrofo bi na ahyedade mu nim ahye ho a omo edi hu sika but ye kokoridi letters ni bia na mo mpanyifo no mo nsa hye ase a enye me wanwa se ebebe echi no na mo kra no e bia ye sisikadie bi koso a enye me wanwa se na mo kra no mo ka ho bi enye me wanwa because Apostle Professor Opoku Onyina, he is a professor, told us say the rebate contract, no, it went through a rigorous international procurement process. Shraj is telling us, say it didn't go through any procurement process. It is against the laws of this country. And Dag Heward Mills was raising these issues. And you thought you could say this to defend yourself. Me say, Nyankopon, you cannot mock him. Nyankopon say David. Na mo de ya mo se obia no betumi asoye keke na wesi asoye dan ho. Mu ni mu. Nyame. Ade a Nyankopon won fendi agro kra ye asoye o. Eya mo se obia keke no betumi asoye na wesi asoye dan. Nyankopon say David medono. And in the Bible no eka nipa baako a Nyankopon okire no odopan ye David. Nipa baako a Nyankopon yusu no ema nkrofo amanaman ba behu se wono nyame otumi pan e wo Bible mo ye David. Ye ka ende uko Israel kra na ohene baako a omo ndi ne ho agro ye David. But ono David ne kra no Nyankopon ka ten say David hey onsa ho wo moja dodo. Me ma wonsi ma asore. Now so David in some moja no na enye se bia in some moja na eboni o okun je ne nkrofo Israel for okun ye e wonyame din mu e de ji Israel for ekun ye wonyame din mu e de establish ye during that time say Nyankopon no yo kokuruko ba ono kra no eye nyame adwuma na wo ye no a eye okun no at the end of the day nyame ka said that bi onsa ho wo moja dodo untumi nsi ma asore dan na mema wo ba na esi. Indeed, ipakro ba besi asori dan e Solomon. So I have told you say sa cathedral adie we ya na ye mo say mo de mo besi mo de nya hwe mo besi no eye Nyankopon na nkasa his actions ena ema Ghana fo hu ne say God exposed you people. Nyankopon ankasa no expose him. It's as simple as that. Eye nyame nankasa no expose him. Na cathedral musi ehun sem bebre. And that hey, nipakra wo yeah the design of the National Cathedral na kra no. And that inyuma bebre international inyuma bebre awaye nina no ya pame no aden ya. Emma woni omu ye adwuma eba bonte be ka se o repi omu we adwumam. For people who don't know that story, I said it here before, but maybe this is your first time. Let me show you that story. David Ajayi. Nipakra wa National Cathedral no. Financial Times enya Ghana o. Because Ghana for na NDC for na kwa show muchi. Financial Times one of the top international publishers. Omo posting nipakuna name David Ajayi oni. David Ajayi, the celebrated architect accused of sexual misconduct. Emma woni omo ye adwuma. Eba be accusing say debia no to ye mona. Yeni ni tu kwan ni ekọ airport kra na wache yen wo bathroom na wato yen mona. David Ajayi in his response asemo obeka ne say oh emane de oni omo dae de be enye so to omo mona emane pene so eni omo oni omo dae. Wawari o me nka se me de me ye be man tine ne de enye masem me nkoka se obema wawari ni kwan se okofa ne de all side. I'm not going to be a hypocrite here. But we ena no National Cathedral or yet the design of the cathedral. Incha make us say yam say obi keke and obi akeke no betumi esi asori dan. But eno achini ni na mo anka hwe. This same David Ajayi declare support e ma sebe in previous gay for this same David Ajayi. That time ni na nsofo a mo kwantia LGBT mo amba bonti ama beka say eh na nipa kra wo ye cathedral design ama ye kra so no support LGBT mo amba bonti ama meka sa because ebi amunim bebi a munya mo bi fi cathedral ba ko ehun sem bebre and they say ochina say omo a wo mo si ade ne kra no ni ye expose omo company amode contract $312 million contract kra mo omo kra no omo free Ghana ebufuo mu se mo mpese mo beti omo na eye mo say eye just me esa eye mo say wo bia keke no betumi asori esi nyame dan ana nyame fie dabio unsa wo moja wuntumi na se yekasa unsa wo moja ene ntrese e bia wekum nipa nko an udi atro ena odi si nyame dan what be that how is it even going to stand today every single thing about the dead okuja to sha ase no omo ka tren say oh there are some figures in the Bible. Oh, let me show you. Omuna na emra na Nehemiah baba kababesi your friend saying Jerusalem no. Omuna na omo person omo preventing no. Omo na person Sambalat and Tobiah. Aha, Sambalat and Tobiah was said Tobiah neba Tobiah is it how do you spell it? Tobias and Sambalat. Sambalat and Tobiah. Sambalat and Tobias. Any Emra na Nehemiah oba eba besi rebuild Jerusalem. Sa time na ye chi omo de call Babylon. Nehemiah okoko sre kwan obon mpa ye tre nyame. Se nyame de tun akoma so sa time na Ezra di kan aba e de omonkrata omo old letters ni omo old documents ana Israel for ashure ni na no Ezra no a scholar into the san nyama ni na ba ya wo sanso aba be tretre wo mo but that time na Nehemiah still o under captivity na bebi a wo no under Babylon for no na ono obo ne ho adwuma nti na ohene ne penasem e na obo mpa ye tre nyame e na oka se wa bo mpa ya tre nyame ne de nyame e de ne nsa be ka ohene na ohene aka se wo mbra no kware okoye kokachiro ohene ne se me pese me call back to me kro no e na ohene ne ka se an ne ko nyankopon na ka kire ne se onko obaaye no and obey say okay no nim nkrofo e wo ho a no onim say nkrofo e wo ho no o ba say wo nyame de ato na koma so say wo mbra no mbra mbe rebuild Jerusalem no yes say wo ba be rebuild nim say oba be kan nkrofo no betumi a stop no nti wo ba e wa man be kan e no no akokoye rounds no ko hu bebi asay ni na ni bebi e wo so mo ye owie na afi obefa plan omo yes a rebuild ye be ni say that time Tobiah and Sanballat and Tobiah omo ye nkrofo a omo ye say ye mpene e ma ni nsi okuja to abla kwa ye na adwen say wo kasetia National Cathedral no impanyifo we ya ende ye hu say wo mu atwa ntro no impanyifo we sorry tia wo okuja to abla kwa ka say okuja to abla kwa eye Tobiah and Sanballat impanyifo we asemo mo ba be ka kire yen ene say okuja to oye Tobiah and Sanballat oye Tobiah and Sanballat because they wanted to build the cathedral and Okujato is against them. Now Tobiah and Sanballat Okujato no, he will not succeed because in the Bible Tobiah and Sanballat never succeeded. They never succeeded. Nehemiah rebuilt the city, the wall. When they were rebuilding it, sekan ba ko shomonsa na omunsi because so ba ya be wall sekan they were rebuilding. They rebuilt it. And then who is the Tobiah and who is the Tobiah and who is the Sanballat? Who? So when inti ende amaya ye hu ne say okuja to mon e na Nyankopon hunhum e ba be hye ni mu a wa ye say adwuma no because na Nyankopon e pese wo kire say monsa ho ofin won ma mun sti na asore dan. And every single thing shows every single sector of San National Cathedral ade we e kire. Now the last one to show say indeed e Nyankopon bu fo show ne ba mo so no eno e be si 7 December na me se mo fansan bebia you see how every single thing e ba na e ko ba sa the last one to show say indeed San National Cathedral ade yi nyame ni bu afu mo 7 December mo fansan bebia mo de mo be hu sofwa ye revere mo ye bumo babe gumu hu ni mo asise ya just because of politics me say me hu bitter say krom ha MPP aban we na ma Ghana ensofo nipa to me sorry cradi or sofo atem because senya na ye bumu wo krom ha pa na mo kasama ye MPP ba ye me nim say ye nsuo bi ne ye de ma mo na munum yo say ye de ne ye de ma mo na munum yo tre say MPP ba ye mu ni na tre say asenkola bi a wo mun ko school da asenkola bi a wo mun preach da muni na ya ba betina mo nase a mutu yenfo ya betina mo nase a mu preach kire yen MPP aban ba ya mo de mo ho ba bebo mo ase de mo ntina sorry de mo preach da enyama mo preach against ni na nde no na mo ye mo gu mo ho ani mo ase o mo gu mo ho ani mo ase dodo na nse ye kokokan se say ya find out Malik Basin tele de betu dwa say say amokra no mpenyifo amote National Cathedral and that say every single month bia yetua mo be 200 million 300 million old cedis. You say hey mo de ani anim say mo ye nsofo o say National Cathedral board amote ano every month mo gi be 20,000 30,000 hey ene mu didi ye kokko kan asem am be kan say ane say National Cathedral project no enkoso a ene interest say maye ntua moka hey mo ye bi o moi ye bi dodo, moi ye bi. Hey! Eti fo mo ntre mo adwo ate.